Ganda ng jersey ko, Rick, no? Solid budget.
Pangit.
Yan yung mga jersey ng mga champion.
Yung mga jersey na mga mayayabang.
Mga jersey na hirap talunin yung Leeds.
Oh.
Excuse me, magaling ang Leeds. Sinabi ko na sa iyo yan.
Meron yan stat eh. Parang si Van Dijk has had the most errors that led to goals in the last year or in the last few months yata.
Totoo ba yan?
Oh,
medyo
siya nakita eh.
Medyo lax siya lately.
Pero nakagol siya in fairness. But
pero kita mo yung kanyang error, parang ano lang siya, ewan lang. Pwede naman i-clear yung bola.
Sawa na daw siya maging champion. Pero papatalo na lang sila.
Di pa siya sa Arsenal para hindi siya mag-champion.
Tottenham, sure ball.
Sabagay, nananalo naman kami ng FA Cup at saka Community Shield. Pwede na rin.
May good news pala ang Tottenham.
Ano?
Si Alex Morgan.
Yun.
Tottenham.
Palaruin nyo kaya sa men's team, baka gumaling kayo.
Baka manalo pa kami kung siya naglalaro.
Pero alam mo, ano lang yan, first day hiccup lang yan ng Tottenham, they'll bounce back.
True.
Well, that's what we said last season. Kasi di ba, 2 seasons ago, Champions League final kami nun, di ba? Tapos when we started the next season, boom, biglang nosedive. Parang 14th in the table kami, 15th on the table.
Oo nga
eh. Nakahabol pa kami.
Anywho, alright, ready na tayo. Ready tayo magsimula.
Alright.
Ang istoryang futBOLERO. Saan yan? Uy, mali. Ito. Ready to go. Go, 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 go.
Hindi ko talaga alam itong mga sounds ni Ron eh. Pero sige lang.
Hindi ko nakabutan yung mga ganyan eh.
Tugtugan niya ng mga pogi.
Kaya pala hindi ko alam. Kaya pala.
Stop a second. Stop. Shout out what Alex
Yeah. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to Istoryang futBOLERO. Nandito po kami uli para pag-usapan ang mga issues of the day. And tonight, of course, we have the owner and the great entrepreneur na owner ng Auntie Ann, si Mikel Paris. At of course, kasama natin si Eric Madraso. Pag kailangan niyo insurance, si Eric ang kausapin ninyo. Ayun.
Hindi ko kayo rebentahan, promise.
Mahal ang Pacific Cross, mahal yan.
Pero sulit. Value for money yan. Value for money.
Oo nga naman.
Ganda ng hot money ka. Ganda ng hot money yan.
Super dry.
Ganda.
Siguro kung merong tao na papayag ako na bentahan ako ng insurance, si Eric siguro yun. Pero kung iba, wala yan. Niwala niya insurance, bahala na si Saddam. Ano ang mangyari sa akin? Mangyari na.
Hindi na kailangan insurance, GoFundMe na lang. Gago, hindi important insurance, important yan. If you can afford it, find ways to do it. Diba, Eric?
Yes, definitely.
Anyway,
wag lang PhilHealth.
Oo nga pala.
Dapat lang talaga ayusin yung PhilHealth na yan.
Maayos rin yan. Si Giran, dating NBI chief ang umahawak ngayon. Although sabi ng mga kadilawan, bakit at lawyer daw ang pinahawak ng PhilHealth? Ano bang alam niyan sa pagpapatakbo ng isang ahensya or government institution that involves that's about the health system.
Oh,
Eh,
ano.
loko pala kayo eh. Yung in-appoint ninyo ng panahon ni Pinoy, abogado rin.
Oo nga.
Ganun ba?
Yung mga loko talaga itong mga, alam mo, hindi ko alam kung binabasa nila yung sarili nilang mga pinopost o yung mga ano nila, yung mga batikos nila eh. Parang ano eh, alam mo sakit ng dilaw. Pag mahilig sila magbatikos, kasi di assume kung ano man yung kalokohan nila in the past, gayon din ang ginagawa ng gobyerno ngayon. Diba? By the way, good evening to Junjun Asoik, one of our early birds. Topic for tonight is dapat bang ibalik ang GMRC sa paaralan? Makakatulong kaya kung ang barangay ay may community service programs para sa ating mga kabataan? Bakit po natin topic ito tonight? First of all, ano bang ibig sabihin ng GMRC? Eric, naalala mo ba yung sabihin ng GMRC?
Yeah, good morals and right conduct.
Yun. Good manners, di ba? Good morals ba? Good manners. Mikel.
Alam ko manners, pero check natin. Madali lang i-resolve tong issue natin.
Yeah, Eric.
Ask Mr. Google.
Good manners, yun. IGMG, good manners and right conduct. According to the official Gazette of the Philippines, officialgazette.gov.ph.
Good manners, right conduct. Tama? Parang tinanggal yata yung programa na yan. Hindi ko lang alam kung sa panahon ni Pinoy. Pero tinanggal yung programa na yan. At ngayon, ang pakiramdam ng lahat ay dahil sa kakulangan nga ng disiplina, ay kailangan ibalik yan. Kasi siyempre, ang disiplina nagsisimula po yan sa kabataan. Nagsisimula yan as a matter of fact, our good friend, si Congressman Pulong, meron siyang idea na naggumawa ng batas na para magkaroon ng community service para sa mga kabataan. Para at a young age ay matuto sila ng responsibilidad. Anong tingin mo doon, Rick?
Pwede naman.
No?
I think ang kailangan din I think one important thing that we need to do is update the GMRC modules. Kasi ang pansin ko lang kasi people nowadays, not just kids, no? I mean everyone, pagkaharap mo, mabait, may good manners, may right conduct, pero pagdating sa online, pagdating sa alter ego nila sa online, nag-iibang anyo. Diba? Kasi dati kasi you can't do that. I mean, when we were growing up, if you say something like that during that time, masasapak ka na lang eh. 'Di ba? Diretso na. Ngayon kasi hindi na sila nasasapak eh. 'Di ba?
Di tsaka dati, harap-harapan nangyayari yung kabalastugan eh. Di ba?
Yeah.
Nangyayari yan sa pagbaba mo ng stairs. Biglang yung mga bully, binubuli yung mga di ba? Binabangga. Lalabang ka?
Di ba? Ganun eh. So, for me, I think they need to update it. Kasi nga, siguro update out. I mean, most of it siguro pwede pa rin. But dagdagan nila ng online good manners and right conduct. Kasi nga, ang lakas na ng loob ng mga tao ngayon, pero pagkaharap mo naman, wala namang masabi. Alam mo?
Parang ako lang. Sa Facebook lang ako pwede makipag-away.
Diba?
Totoo ba yan, Mikel? Mabait ka ba nung bata ka, Mikel? Hindi ka ba? Talaga?
Honor student, everything. The works, bro. The works. Football player, mga ganyan.
Nakatanggap ka ng medalya for good character, mga ganyan?
Bro, in my school, in Southridge where I studied, the best award you can get is called the Student Award. And basically, that includes yung, hindi lang siya academics, it's overall, na mabait ka, hindi ka kupal, mga ganyan, teachers like you and all that. In my first year in Southridge, when lumipat kasi first year high school, I got that award. After that, wala na. All downhill, bro.
Yun. Sabi na nga.
Nung third year, PE award na lang dahil varsity football. Mga ganyan, pababa na, pababa. Kasi I already attained the pinnacle. Sabi ko, okay na to, okay na. Down.
Sabi ni first comment of the night si Junjun Asoy. I am a teacher at the senior high. I don't agree that it should be returned. It's just a waste of time. What we do in school is integrate values every time we teach.
That's
Tanong
actually,
dyan, Junjun, if that is a standard thing, baka hindi kaya case-to-case basis yun depending on the teacher. Kasi kung ano lang yan, it's kung baga yung tinatawag natin, it only happens in the discretion of the teacher. Baka hindi naman lahat ng teacher nagtuturo ng mga good values sa
Well,
ating mga
in fairness kasi to Junior, depends kasi really on certain schools, no? So like yung school ng mga anak ko where I also studied, it relies kasi a lot on natawag nila it's it's a collaboration between the home and the school, no? Kasi minsan lang iniisip ng tao is babagsak ko yung anak ko dyan sa inyo all day, kayo nang bahala dyan. Pag uwi, wala na, di ba? It's not my problem. But in Southridge and the other parif, there's a collaboration. We have to attend all sorts of mga parenting classes and mga seminars. Kailangan may collaboration talaga between the parent and the school. But then like sa school ng anak ko, there's a thing like every month, there's a virtue of the month where they really, really go through it. Like what this month is honesty. And even when I was younger, I had to write a whole thing about what honesty is, ganyan. So really, they drill it into your heads and you see it. So I see where kung saan nagagaling si Junjun. Kasi certain schools talaga, they really instill, kahit na walang GMRC na they really instill those kinds of values in the kids. But it's not standardized. Not all schools do the same. So I guess the reason for having a bill like sa GMRC or putting that back is mas standardized that everybody gets a basic at least inclusion in their curriculum na kung anong kailangan discuss. But what Junjun said also here, which is kind of correct, is yung mga bata kasi ngayon medyo overloaded na, no? A lot of it is really focused sa academic side. Ang mga parents, sadly ngayon, medyo obsessed na first honor yung mga anak para ma-post sa Facebook na ganyan-ganyan. Parang dati, ilan lang makilala mo first honor, di ba? Talagang nerd, di ba? Yung mga, sa inyo, ngayon parang, yung nag-attend nga yung dad ko, he attended the graduation, the grade 7. The grade 7.
Ginagamit ko yung term na nerd?
Oh, nerd, daming nerd. My dad attended the grade 7 graduation of my son last year. Bad trip siya kasi sabi niya, ano ba ito, lahat na lang ng bata tinawag dyan sa stage, lahat may honor, lahat may award. Puta naman, tagal-tagal ko nakaupo dito. Kasi nung time namin, iilan lang talaga yung first honor. Yung tipong pag-uwi mo galing school, bibigay mo sa nanay mo yung score mo. Ang tatanong niya kagad sa'yo, ano score ni ano? Kasi alam niyo na kung sino yung honor student sa class niyo, di ba? Sabi mo, ma, lahat kami bumagsak. Sabi niya, ano score ni Marco? 98. Putya, ikaw lang pala yung bobo eh. Buti pa, kung kaya ni Marco maka 98, kaya mo din yan. But it's just that now, really the focus is really academic side. As in talagang obsessive yung parents from a young age, grade 1 onwards. As in talagang crazy. Even now with the online class, lalo mo may kita kasi nandun sa bahay yung parents eh. Talagang they're really involved. But tama si Junjun kasi sana mag-shift din yung attention towards the other side, yung formation talaga ng bata. Kasi the formation of the kid is what will make that person a good person as they grow up, no? So it's not really, I mean, malay mo, sobrang honor student pero kupal or doesn't know how to interact with people naman. Yun yung mga delics, di ba? I think it's in Japan, di ba? In Japan, yung mga lower grades, they don't have mga tests or anything. It's really just purely instilling values of mga work and sa kids, di ba? They don't have janitors sa mga school nila. The kids clean up their own mess. Mga ganyan. May kita mo naman yan, di ba? Like we discussed before sa mga football games, the Japanese fans, they're the ones who clean up the stadiums after. They're known worldwide for their discipline and their integrity.
So, feeling ko lang kasi, I don't know if it's just us, no? But obviously, it's quite different now with this generation. I mean, if you really think about it, Mikel, Eric, yung mga kabataan ngayon, ito yung generation ng mga, kung may mga anak tayo, yun yung mga anak natin. Yung, di ba? Yung mga teenagers ngayon are supposed to be the generation that belong to, if you have kids when you were younger, mga teenager na ngayon. Ang tanong dyan is, may kinalaman ba yung generation natin, kaya ganyan yung generation ngayon? And we feel that apart from the parents being playing a vital role in making sure that our children or discipline is instilled in our children, the institutions also themselves would have to play a part, because majority of the time they are in the schools. But now obviously it's different because they're mostly at home, and starting October, classes will be online. So what do you think? Wala bang problema yung kabataan ngayon in terms of general attitude? Eric, ano tingin mo? Sa ano mo, sa yung observation, yung itong bagong generation ng mga teenagers, sa tingin mo may problema sila sa attitude, or if you were to constructively criticize their general output, what do you think should be improved? Meron ba silang discipline problem?
That's actually a loaded question, though. I think there are a lot of factors that can be improved, but this generation of teenagers right now, actually, they have it easy. Information is at their fingertips now because they are digital natives. Ibig sabihin, they were born into this type of scenario wherein accessible lahat ng information. And they really have that easy. Kasi tayo, we had to go to the library, dapat may library card ka pa. Alam mo yun? And
Dewey
everything.
Decimal System, bro. Di na alam ng mga bata yan.
Diba? Hindi nila alam yun. Ngayon, Google na lang. Lahat na lang nakikita nila online, right? One of the things that I've noticed kasi these kids, yung attention span nila ngayon, medyo maikli. And parang ano sila na-observe mo rin yan. You can correlate it to the laptops, to the tablets, and the mobile phones, wherein pag sawa na sila, swipe or scroll, di ba? So, parang, okay, wala na. Hindi na nila tinatapos yung video, scroll na, ganun. So, I think, no, that this is just my opinion, na ganun din siguro yung nangyayari ngayon kasi may cancel culture din tayo ngayon Right? Pag ayaw mo sa isang bagay, click mo lang yung X, wala na. Mawawala na siya. So I think nagtatranslate siya into real life wherein kung ayaw mo tong tao na to, unfriend mo na siya agad. Mga ganun. So, ako, I didn't grow up like that Ako, tanggap ko lahat kung sino ka. I mean, embracing diversity. I mean, as I grew up and became more mature, ako, kahit sino ka, tatanggapin kita. So that's why I have a lot of friends, no? Whether, whatever religion, whatever beliefs, whatever, political views, kaibigan ko sila lahat. Sila lang yung nag-unfriend sa akin.
So you think, Rick, yung mga kabataan ngayon masyadong, they're starving of social acceptance, or they're very keen in getting approval from their peers, kasi that's why sa social media they get easily depressed when they don't have enough likes for a post they created. Kasi funny thing, I just recently watched nga yung di ba merong documentary na bago sa Netflix, yung Social Dilemma ba yun, Mikel? Tama ba yung title?
Yeah.
Tapos in-explain doon ng isang engineer kung bakit nila nilagay yung like button, yung the guy who invented it, to promote positivity pala talaga through social media. Kaso it morphed into something else. The like button has become a source of addiction for some. Yung approval is dependent on the number of likes or followers that you have on social media. And it becomes a vicious cycle of sorts na para sa mga kabataan. And then for people na who don't get enough, they become depressed. And it becomes a source, para na siyang crack ang social media, sabi nga, di ba? Kasi may addiction involved. And scientifically, you can prove it because dopamine levels go up once you hit like certain number of likes, and once you don't, you get the opposite. and that's where depression comes in. So that's an issue altogether. And ngayon, do we use the curriculum? Do we use the educational system to make sure that children something to counteract that culture, no? That social media has sort of cultivated in the minds of our youth. Should our teachers be a beacon of light? Should they be the ones telling these impressionable kids na, look, social media is not life. You know, if you don't get enough likes, hindi ibig sabihin na wala kang kwenta. So meron ba tayong dapat, should that be part of the curriculum? Not necessarily exactly like GMRC, but a different version of GMRC that's that reflects the times that we are in, which is very heavily dependent on social media. Yun ang aking I think.
Sorry. Miguel, were you about to say
Miguel,
something?
yeah,
No,
you were you can say something.
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
That's well and good, no? If we put it into the curriculum, but I think it has to be more than that. Kasi that type of behavior is also apparent to adults, not just kids, right? So I think it's better if we put it as a cultural thing. Na I don't know. I think it has to be bigger than just modules in school. Kasi one of the problems of kids, no, even in our time, kung anong natututunan nila sa school, minsan hindi nila na-apply sa bahay kasi yung parents hindi naman pina-practice.
Oo, alam mo, naalala ko dyan, Rick, kunyari merong policy sa eskwelahan. Kunyari, for example, sa Ateneo, di ba, dapat yung English ka the whole day. Di ba? Kunyari, ma-penalize ka kung hindi ka mag-English para ma-practice yung ma-practice mo yung language. Tapos pagdating mo sa bahay, ang hirap dahil siguro yung parents mo hindi naman mahilig mag-English. Tapos pag nag-English ka, sabihin sa'yo, corny ka, pa-English ka pang nalalaman dyan, ha? Diba? I can imagine parents na ganun ang rin, diba? Ang personality. Tapos aasa rin pa yung bata pag in-English sila, hindi sila tutulungan kasi nakokornihan dahil masyadong pasosyal. So I guess the point there, Mikel, is if your home is not conducive enough for whatever learnings that you are encouraged to do in school, that will also affect you as a child. I mean,
100%. I mean, the thing to look at here, like for me, my personal view is we can bring GMRC back, but not in its old form. Tama si Eric, you have to update it. We have to change it. There's lots that you can add. Pero why stop dun sa GMRC? For me, yung buong curriculum natin needs revamp. Imagine, the same things that we were taught back in how many years ago, ganun pa rin yung tinuturo ngayon sa school. Same type of lesson, same structure, very little has changed. Obviously, ngayon, lahat online na. But the subjects are the same principles, the same things. The world has changed so fast already. As in, talagang ang dami na nagbago sa mundo. Those are the things we need to be teaching the kids now. I mean, we go on and on about history, algebra, all this crap, which is important to a certain degree, but it's not really what helps the kids in the real world, especially sa public school system. Na-discuss na natin to ilang times, diba, na for me, kailangan talaga we need to include things like financial literacy, even things like family planning. Although galit na galit yung simbahan dyan, we need that. There's just so many things that we need to be teaching kids at school. Practicalities, taxes, mortgages, loan, those kinds of things that we don't even discuss with children. Now, those will all be part of their formation as they grow up. Kasi nangyayari din, pag-graduate ng college, they just get bombarded with real life. Real life hits them hard. Pa feeling mo, everyday is life, it's good. Diba? Feeling mo, finally, matapos na ako sa college, tapos na yung thesis ko, yahoo! Biglang, boom, puta, you have to work for an asshole boss. And then you're not prepared. But you know what I mean? And you have to do an internship somewhere, and you're not prepared, and it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And we've this generation and every generation kasi says that the next generation is weak. Our parents, I'm sure, said the same thing about us, and the previous generation said the same,
Oh.
no?
Bagay.
But this generation talaga kasi they've been exposed to just way too many things, more than any other generation has been exposed to. Just yung source of information nila. Imagine before when we had to research something, pucha, babasahin mo talaga yung Encyclopedia Britannica hanggang mahanap mo yung pinapahanap ni Sir. Pucha, ngayon, type mo lang sa Google, tapos unboxing, di ba? Nandun na. Tapos, finish. So parang you don't really have to, and it's not to say they don't work hard. They have to work. These kids, they have so many academic requirements to meet nowadays. There's so much pressure on them to do well. But it's just that it's different. It's a different thing. And I think that the educational system should adapt. It hasn't yet adapted, especially for the public school system. I think dun sila kailangan mag-change. And then the other thing na kailangan talaga natin idagdag nito, one of my pet peeves talaga is yung nationalism. No, parang wala na masyado yan sa schools eh. Parang they teach you history, they teach you Lapu-Lapu, Magellan, it's all sorts of bullshit history that they teach you, which is not necessarily the truth, diba? But it's the sense of pride and nationalism. The reason I know na talaga may issue tayo sa nationalism, ilan ang kilala mong bata today na hindi marunong mag-Tagalog, mag-Filipino? Ang dami, bro. My own kid is struggling with Filipino. The older one is fine. Ako, I look like this, but I speak talagang fluent, di ba? But kasi I grew up dito na you had to learn that. Kung gusto mo mabuhay dito, you had to learn, you had to talk to everybody, di ba? And for me, the language, Filipino language, is one form of, if you don't know that, how can you call yourself a proper Pinoy, di ba? It's good to speak English. I'm very proud na magaling tayo mag-English. But we're one of the only countries in the world that will laugh at you for speaking English na baluktot. It's not your first language. Diba? In most countries, they'll be so proud na puchang galing para they can understand English. Dito, para magkamali ka lang ng isang word. Jologs, bro. Ano ba yan? So baroque. Diba?
Pero
But
alam
we
mo,
don't speak Filipino anymore. Para yung mahirap dito. Para mag-usap kayo ng mga friends mo. Yung mga kids, they don't speak Filipino anymore. And we're proud of it. Diba? Parang I'll have parents say to me, my son, he doesn't understand Tagalog. Like, saan pa lumaki yan? Dito. Putangin naman di marunong mag-Tagalog yan.
Pero alam mo, Miguel, ano yan eh, that's true for a certain segment of society. Siyempre, yung mga affluent in the upper middle class and who have kids who study in the top 5 schools of the country. Diba? They think like that.
Hindi na top. It's even the other schools, normal private schools, they struggle with Filipino now. Sa public school, obviously, they all speak Filipino. Great, that's fantastic. But there should not be a divide. A Filipino studying in private and public should be able to communicate with each other at all times. But when they grow up, when they go out into the real world, either they'll be working together. They should be able to communicate. English is the universal language. That's very good. But for me, you should at least know and understand Filipino. Kasi that's sense of nationalism and pride. Para imagine if in Japan you didn't know how to speak Japanese. Paano gagawin nila sa iyo doon, 'di ba?
Pero
diba?
alam mo Miguel, Eric, ang problema diyan sa sa argument na 'yan, Philippine society is very diverse. Tagalog is not the only language that we have in this country. We have Bisaya, we have Ilonggo, we have Waray. And so if you say, if you don't know how to speak Tagalog, that makes you a little less nationalistic. But paano yung mga taga Cebu sa'yo? Bakit?
Teach them all the dialects. Teach them if you're from Cebu, speak Cebuano. If you're from,
call it a dialect. That's a faux pas nga for some people na.
If you speak it, but they don't. The problem is most of them just speak English now, and that's the scary part. Although English is a good thing, it helps us with the POG or the BPO call center, fantastic, diba? But for me, let's not lose sight of the Filipino because it's very important. Because you have to have, hindi naman siya yung be all and end all na hindi ka marunong mag-Filipino, hindi ka nationalistic. Hindi naman ganon, but it contributes towards it, no? But for me, it's the other side of it is not just speaking Filipino, it's just really having a sense of nationalism and being proud to be Filipino and fighting for the Filipino. And instead, diba, kumbaga, ang gusto ko ituro nila sa school is how to handle social media, how to be Filipino, what we always say here na pro-Pinoy, walang political parties. Walang political biases, so that when the kids are starting, they go through this system, they come out of it. They're out there ready to do good things for the country. Wala silang mga, I don't like those guys, they're Dutertards or they're yellow. Parang dapat from that age pa lang.
School na may mga madre na
I'm not 100.
Pinaparali yung mga estudyante.
Saints ko?
Saints ko yun, di ba?
Okay, yung asawa ko taga Saints ko, so I have to be careful.
Hindi, pero Mikel, hindi ako sigurado. I can't agree with you 100% because ang problema nga natin simula nung hindi ko alam kung time ni ERAP, binago nila yung yung policy on English as a second language. I think much of the curriculum nga involve making sure that Filipino is spoken in the schools kasi because of nga to promote nationalism. Ang problema diyan is yung quality ng English ng ating ating mga kababayan as a nation. There's the generation after us. Medyo hindi na ganoon ka-proficient mag-English. Dati ang Pilipinas is known in Asia as one of the best English-speaking countries in our region. But because of yung change of policy, pansinin mo, Mikel, to counter what you just said, marami tayong mga kababayan, pag in-English mo, sasabihin sa'yo, nosebleed. Huwag masyadong English ng English. Pansinin mo rin kahit nga tayo ngayon, pag nag-English tayo straight ngayon sa programa na to, may mga magre-reklamo dyan.
Hindi, pero ang argument dyan,
kayo.
But ang argument kasi dyan, Ron, is you and I grew up speaking both languages pretty proficiently. Diba? Parang it is proven that you can do both. You don't have to be an expert in both, no? Just at least have basic understanding and be able to converse in it, no? I'm not saying that teach all the subjects in Tagalog or whatever, but you should be able to understand it and be proud that you understand it, whether it's Cebuano, Ilonggo, or what, no? Depende kung saan ka lumaki. But you should be able, hindi pwede tayong reliant just purely on English, and we view English as parang if you speak English, you're rich. You're cultured, you're class. Diba? That's how it is. Ang mahirap sa akin is, sobrang Tagalog, diba? Pag may kausap na nakita ko, sabihin na, puta, parang they cannot register na this guy is speaking to them in Tagalog. So they'll still, kahit tinatagalog ko sila, sagot nila sa akin palagi English. Kasi parang labo nitong tao, parang nananaginip ba ako dito? Mukhang gagong to, tinatagalog. It's just for me, just the kids should understand it at least and be able to converse in the basics of it. And we as parents should not be proud that our children cannot understand or speak the local language. But it's a language side. Small lang yan. It's just a good thing to have. Yung sa GMRC, like what Eric said kanina, is it has to be updated kasi nga parang holistic approach, no? Parang, at saka like we said kanina, you shouldn't just be reliant on the school to teach you. But ang danger kasi dito, Ron, which we complained about before, one of my biggest fears in the Philippines is because of the situation of public transport, traffic, and all sorts. The parents hardly see their children. Diba? Nung bago magka-COVID, diba? Kuwari, you work Monday to Friday, you barely see your kids. Yung let alone have meals together. And those are crucial times for formation of the child.
Okay.
No? Very important yan. But ang mentality kasi ng karamihan ng mga parents is, I have to work, yung school nang bahala sa'yo. I'll only get involved pag bumagsak yung grades mo or pagalitan ka na, ganyan. But kasi nga talaga there has to be collaboration. Like what Eric said and you guys said kanina, you have to be also a good example in your house, di ba? Easier said than done. Siyempre, lahat tayo, we have stressful days and we set bad examples. Tayo, nagmumura. We tell our kids, don't say bad words. But then, pag may kausap mo na friend mo, ay tayo na, di ba? So, it's really, so don't drink. Don't drink while you're holding a glass of wine. Don't drink, di ba? But
Mikel, nakwento ko to sa'yo, di ba? Yung dati, nung merong tinatawag na Weekend Football League, ginagawa kasi nga, yung Weekend Football League, mga kaibigan, yan yung liga ng soccer. Kung hindi kayo, if you don't call it football, it's called soccer. And then we have a league that happens every weekend, and it's joined by different teams from all over. It started out as a Sunday type football league na yung mga dating futbolero naglalaro diyan. Tapos eventually after ilang years, may mga sumasali ng mga semi-pro.
Mga Afrikano.
And eventually naging na siya, training league ng mga kabataan from these professional leagues. And I remember one of these professional leagues who have a youth team na pinapasali sa WFL. Pare, yan ang problema, Mikel. Talagang lakas magmura sa field. Tapos, ang mga mura, English pa mura.
Ron, kaya youth ba yan? Kaya youth?
Kaya. Kaya yan.
Bakit alam mo? Ucha.
Well, nakasuntukan na namin yan eh. Pero,
Ayun si Paolo. Paolo.
guys,
Eh, Pao.
we're in the presence of celebrity. Can we just acknowledge the presence of...
How are you, boys?
Salamat,
Miss you guys.
Yeah, Paolo, na-miss ka namin. Alam mo si Paolo kasi we were talking, good thing na sumali si Paolo. The reason why he found it interesting, we found the topic tonight interesting is because he is currently very busy with the DepEd. At he is doing really good work with our mga guro, ating mga teachers ngayon. Kasi di ba nagkaroon ng transition na from classroom setting, ngayong October, i-roll out na ng DepEd yung kanilang online teaching. In Paolo,
At saka television.
in television. Kaya we're very proud of Paolo as our friend and co-football player na laki nung kanyang ginagawa para sa DepEd at tinutulungan niya ang mga guro. Sila yung ating hindi dapat isama natin yan sa list of frontliners in this pandemic because they are doing good work. Even though, 'di ba, Pao?
Definitely.
So Pao,
what we're doing really is we're going around the country and selecting mga teacher broadcasters. So these are teachers who will become television hosts, right? But they won't just be on-camera personalities because they have to write their scripts based on the modules of curriculum and instruction of DepEd. So it's a very daunting task both for them and for the Department of Education because of the volume of lessons that you need to produce over the course of several months. So imagine if you can 130 episodes a week na 20 minutes ang length ng mga lessons. So that's what needs to be produced by these teacher broadcasters. And what I'm doing is I'm basically teaching them the ropes of on-camera and production as well. So there are a lot of challenges, but then tama si Ron, I mean, they should be considered frontliners because this is really something that it's not in their wheelhouse, basically. It's they come into this year 2020 definitely not thinking one day I may be on television, right? So we have to kind of prepare them. We kind of have to prepare them for that. And we've chosen quite a few. There are a couple more slots left, and all over the Philippines, we're identifying different areas where we can set up studios so they can produce episodes there. And then the teacher broadcaster just comes along and then they produce the episodes, and this gets aired on television. So our goal is to be able to air this on free television. And there are a lot of broadcast partners that are coming in, willing to give us the airtime, so that the learners, the students, will be able to continue their education either through television, online, via radio, or via the modular. So those are the four modalities na tinatawag when it comes to blended learning. But the reason why I really like this topic is I'm encouraging the teachers because TV is such a powerful medium, right? So I'm encouraging the teachers na isama na nila sa mga lessons nila yung both GMRC and at the same time values building or core values strengthening, right? By coming up with scenarios or activities that will actually promote this kind of I guess you can say focus on values. Because admittedly, it's really mainstream media, both television and online, that's created a desensitization. The kids are desensitized to what is right or wrong, technically. And they need to be able to understand that what they watch on television, that may be wrong. But there's no one there to tell them it's wrong because it's constantly in your face 24/7. And they're exposed to this. So, it'll be great if we are, even the next few years, we actually find a population wherein the teens, the youngsters actually still say po and opo.
O nga, no? Parang medyo
they're not even allowed to say tito or tita anymore. Titex na lang daw.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on that.
Nawa ka, Miguel. Pero Pao, alam mo, we are no, we're very curious about. We have so many questions for you, no? Kasi syempre, si Mikel, you have kids, Mikel, right? You have kids who are
Yes.
going to school now this October, and
No, they've started. My kids started na last July pa.
Is this blended learning as well?
No,
Or
sa kanila is currently purely online. It's all like 5 days a week. They have online modules and all sorts. It's a learning curve for most parents. I think a lot of people have been complaining kasi nga medyo sobrang involved yung parents, especially for those with younger kids. Kasi nga sa technology side, di ba? The internet's not working. But what I ask na lang people to do is, we have to understand because this is an adjustment for everybody. Especially even for teachers. Like what Paolo said kanina, tama yan, because people are expecting so much from the teachers through this. And because nga, I think parang ngayon makita mo talaga yung value ng teacher if you're a parent. Diba? Kasi, these teachers have to deal with your crazy kids for 8 hours a day. And you've had to deal with them for a few days and you're already losing your minds. Ano pa kaya these guys? But they've also had to adjust it. It's hard for them. Diba? Even technology is not easy for teachers. You have some teachers who have been around a long time. There's some teachers who are my kids, ibang teacher nila, were my teachers when I went to the same school 20 plus years ago. And parang we're thrusting all of this technology onto them. Say, okay, you go teach the kids now. They have to adjust, and what Sila Power doing is so correct and so true with the DepEd is they have to help these guys adjust, find the ones that are good at doing this like on camera and stuff and use them, diba? Kasi sometimes we're expecting na your teacher who's 50 plus years old is just as good at being online and we're expecting too much, I think. And I think we really all have to be patient and adjust to this. Hopefully it's not for long. But hopefully I also, yung sinabi ko sa inyo before, I hope we learn from this, no, that we adjust the whole curriculum because of what's happening now. If we don't do that from this experience, and feeling ko we've missed a golden opportunity.
That's true. Alam mo, I know I found it really funny. Like I have some friends who have kids, no, and I think they share the same circumstances or experience with other parents, where they have to sit with their children while doing online learning. And ang usual, ang reklamo, pucha, nag-aaral naman ako ng algebra uli. Tapos, after 20 or 30 years of not being in school, tapos they have to go through the same thing that their children are going through. And then,
Ron, ganito na lang. I realized this last week that my grade level for math is 3. I helped my son with this grade 3 homework, and I was so confident. Like, yeah, perfect. Submit that shit. Pagbalik, 2 mistakes pa. Oh my God. My son didn't want to talk to me anymore. Sabi, malis ka nga dito. Wala kang kaya.
No, you have to tell him. Yeah, you have to tell your son, I did that on purpose because kung perfect yan, they will suspect that maybe I did it.
I definitely lied to that extent.
Yung sabi nga niya, hindi lang yung problema na na-encounter ng mga parents eh. Like this 2 parents I saw on Facebook, they were chatting, they were exchanging their horror story. Sabi nung isa, lang tong teacher na to, alas 11 ng gabi, pini-message ako, hindi lang mga notification, bigla na lang sinasabi, ito, alam mo yung mga ganyang klaseng problema. So, sabi ko, okay, this is an adjustment period for everyone. And Paolo, I wanted to ask you about the teachers that you train, no? I mean, is this what were the difficulties in the beginning? Because obviously they're not used to this medium
Name the difficulty. It's there. Because you have to understand. I mean, number one, it's nowhere near their core competency to be in front of a camera unless they do like YouTube channels and whatever, right? Or mga blogging, right? And there's a very limited number of teachers that actually do that on a regular basis. So the thinking is you cannot just get a lecture in a classroom and then put that on television, right? You cannot just have a teacher do her whole lesson with the blackboard and everything and then record it and then think that that's going to translate on television.
That's originally the idea of DepEd, no? They were thinking just a phone and then record the teacher and which is a really great idea because then you could actually come up with lessons from all over the country, right? But then if you're using television as a medium, and you know that the audience, the learners, the students are more sophisticated and more exposed to better graphics and better audio and better video quality because they can just go to YouTube, right?
and learn what they think that they should learn there. So they see all of these things, and no doubt about it, they will change the channel if they don't find it appealing visually. If it doesn't sound nice, if it doesn't if it's not compelling and engaging. So that's really what we try to teach the teachers, and try to come up with video lessons that are compelling and engaging, because the big difference is, in a classroom setting, a teacher will see and will get immediate feedback if a student is sleepy, not interested, daydreaming, right? And then the teacher can adjust accordingly. Na parang, medyo bored yung class. Medyo kailangan kong i-up ang energy ko.
But pwede mo ba yung eraser pag live?
Right. And then and then expect the lawsuit the next day. You know what I mean? So, on television, you don't have the luxury of immediate feedback, right? On television, the student has the choice to turn off the channel, change it, go outside and play with their neighbors, and just ignore the lesson altogether. And that's the reason why it has to be compelling and engaging enough for the learner to be glued on television. So a lot of the teachers just like first few minutes or first few seconds even of their audition video, you can tell that they're uncomfortable, right? You can tell that this is not something that they're used to doing. But what we do in the training is we show them that it doesn't take days to learn. It doesn't take weeks to learn. It just takes a few seconds of listening to constructive criticism that's meant to make you better as a teacher broadcaster. And then they realize, oh, okay, yes, it's a better performance. So nabibuild up yung confidence nila. I have this activity called crutch identification and removal. So when you say crutch, it's a manifestation that what you're doing is something that you're not comfortable with, right? So it could be a cheek shake happening, eyebrows twitching, right? Lots of hand movements here and there,
You're just describing me, Pao, the whole day.
Or swaying, or like, going, to and fro. So these are crutches that we call. And once you're able to identify them, what you do is you try to find out where else it's going to be manifested. And then when you're able to remove it totally, as in you can't see it anymore, you can't observe any crutch, then you can tell that the teacher is actually more focused on the job at hand, which is to be able to deliver the lines, right? They're not thinking anymore about what they have to say, because when they're thinking, they're doing a lot of this. So that was the first challenge, getting them used to the camera and looking at the camera lens. The second challenge is having them write a 20-minute script, which again, they are not used to doing. So we have to give them full workshops on writing scripts that translate script to screen. So that's another major challenge. And then there's the logistical challenge, right? So you have teachers from all over the Philippines, right? We have teachers from South Cotabato. We have teachers up from in Apayao, and what we do is, if there's a teacher broadcaster there that's qualified for the training, what we do is we try to find a division or a school that can build a studio or has plans of building a studio, and then we match them so that the teacher broadcaster can go there, shoot their episodes there. But there's a really great story in San Vicente in Palawan. One of our teacher broadcasters there was supported by a local or a Palawan-based director, and he supplied the drone and the camera equipment and the editing. So it's really awesome, because you get to see this whole opportunity for bayanihan to take place, and that's really what we're hoping for, because obviously you need to be able to. So again, it's 130 lessons a week. 520 lessons every month. That's a lot. If you know production,
Pero Pao, it's 20,
right?
20 minutes per lesson. 20 minutes per lesson.
20 minutes per lesson. So what happens is, if you look at the grid, it starts with Kinder, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fresh episodes of Kinder, and then Thursday to Saturday, replay on from 8 to 8:20, for example. And then the next one is grade level 1. So you have grade level 1, let's say Math 1, and then the next day there's Math 1 again, the second lesson, and then it's Aralin Palipunan 1, Aralin Palipunan 2, Aralin Palipunan 1 also. and then the next time slot will be another grade level 1 subject. So if you look at the grid, they really tried to make sure that all the major subjects are covered. Because once you hit mga grade 3, pasok na si other special subjects, and then apparently when you get to senior high school, there are 15 subjects, 15 individual subjects, right? So ang dami. And then there's and I just learned this, the past few weeks, that there are subjects called MAPE. Have you heard of MAPE?
What is it?
Yeah, music,
MAPE.
art, and PE.
There you go, music, arts,
Okay.
PE and health, MAPE, right? And then there's ESP, Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao, which is basically values formation, right? It's interesting. And then, so the teacher broadcaster has to be able to create the script in such a way that whatever they're imagining, and that's our job, to make sure that we're able to pair them with editors, video editors, pair them with graphics artists, pair them with illustrators. And mind you, a lot of these are volunteers all over the country. But so what we're doing now is we're building teams, and then we're actually asking people, so you want to help out? You can sponsor a team, right? 20 episodes for a whole month, sponsor a team, and then that's there forever. Because all of these lessons, after they get aired on those different television channels, will be put into what's called DepEd Commons. It's a repository of all of the educational materials that students, teachers, and parents will have access to. And then, of course, they're going to post it on YouTube as well. So it's there, hopefully, in perpetuity. So it's going to be interesting to see how the learners will use television, will have their modules in hand, and then the teacher broadcasters is saying something like, okay, mga bata, kunyari mas bata, di ba? Mga grade 3. Okay, mga bata, buksan po natin ang ating mga self-learning modules sa pahina 10 at sagutin po natin sabay-sabay ang numero 1 to 5 or something like that. So it's very interactive. It's very interactive. They're using those modules that will be printed by the parents, right?
Can you paint a picture of what's going to happen this October? Because once you roll this out, and then everything's going to be on TV, all this content, and you have the online classes also as well, diba? How do they blend together? Kumbaga,
right?
If it's going to be blended.
So when you say blended learning, it's not choose one or the other. What you're trying to look at is give the learner as many opportunities and avenues where they can absorb all of these lessons, right? So there are some areas that are strong in radio and television. So that could be a good combination. And then they have the modular in hand. And because online may be a problem for some. So it doesn't mean that you have to choose just one, right? There are as many opportunities to learn in the blended learning program of the Department of Education. Junjun Manuel Assault asked, may I know who or what agencies Paolo Bejon is working for? So I volunteered to train the Department of Education public school teachers on how to be on-camera personalities. I'm not training on how to teach. I'm not training based on modules. I'm not talking about the content per se of the lesson. What we do is we train them to be comfortable in front of this lens. We train them how to be able to do proper online classes. We train them to build more confidence so that this very unfamiliar medium will basically be their ally in being able to spread the right kind of education all over the country. And that's really the challenge, because you have a lot of teachers who are only now exposed to this kind of technology and this kind of medium, right? Before the pandemic, I mean, how often did you ever go on Zoom, right? Or StreamYard in this case, right? Never, hardly.
Never.
We would go for face-to-face meetings, right? So to expect, and you're right, Michele, to expect the teachers to be able to adapt to this really quickly it's a long shot for them to adapt really quickly, because it was just basically thrust in their face. Hey, you have to learn online learning. Hey, you have to learn how to be a television broadcaster. So what we're doing is we're trying to ease them into it and not giving them too much of a culture shock, essentially. So one of the things that we have to get rid of is really the whole mentality na if they're thinking that they're TV hosts, they tend to emulate mga TV hosts. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they tend to sound like them, you know?
Pagayahan nila si Wawa Will.
Si Wawa Win or si Vice Ganda. Bigla na lang, uy, ano na.
And they have to be they have to be very, very careful with the language that they use. Kaya it's really a partnership with a lot of the different bureaus of the Department of Education, because before any material is released, it has to go through a whole gamut of quality assurance processes. And it's a challenge because, you know, if you're talking about 100, think about it, Eric, how long will it take you to study 130 scripts a week?
At 20 minutes per, huh?
20 minutes per. So to give you an idea, a 20-minute script is about 16 pages.
Oh, man.
15 pages. Yeah.
Parang it's better involve a lot of people, kasi I don't think 1 or 2, 10 or even 10 people can handle that load.
No,
I mean,
no. Yeah. There's no way.
Well, the thing is, I'm sure, like in terms of the content, naman, I'm sure like DepEd, you know, they have their curriculum, they have what wants to be discussed, and what PAO does, which I think is crucial now. I heard from kanina from Ron, he was telling me what you were doing, kasi apparently good because you're teaching these guys how to come across better on this new medium. Basically, the content is there, but you have to make it more relevant, you know, interesting. Kasi if it's me, like if kids watching the movie, I'm worried about him, kukunin ko na lang yung remote, di ba? Hindi ka pwede bahala ka sa buhay mo. But what PAO is very teaching these guys how to come across this new medium. Because it's not easy. Tayo ito sa vlog, mukha tayong tanga, dapat yung turuan tayo ni Paolo dito eh. But it's very, very interesting because but in many ways, because like depends how many people will be to watch this. Like in school, you have certain teachers that you remember until today because they came across well. They got their message across. Whereas there's some mga teachers na alam mo halos binabasa lang yung libro, no? But now with this, I think one of the advantages will be at least you have the best of the best already. You've selected the ones that will really come across well. So it will be a better opportunity for each kid that they'll be learning from somebody that looks already interesting. And can come across in an interesting manner, diba? Yung pag tinanggal nyo na yung mga boring eh. You weeded them out. Diba?
Here's my bold prediction though. I mean, when Paolo talked about how he's helping all these teachers to have quality, quality content for learning, and talagang to translate what they're teaching into something that is palatable on YouTube, for example. Kasi that's the type of programming or the type of content that we need for people to pay attention to it.
Right.
I mean, I can imagine that they're doing this every week, or how often are they going to be doing this, Paulo? Because they're going to be doing this the entire year, right?
Well, yeah, for the whole school year, which could last basically, if you're looking at the whole curriculum, probably until March. Yeah, and
in a few months now, I can imagine all these teachers having acquired that type of skill, and they're gonna be really good at it. I can imagine like there'll be, you know, YouTube type stars na teachers that are blended.
Si Kuya Boji ba, si Ate Sienna buhay pa? Baka pwede natin ilabas yung mga yan. Ano ba yan? Si wife ko pinalala sa akin. Batibot bro, magagaling yung mga yan.
The difference lang between, say, for example, a show like Batibot and what we're doing dito sa DepEd TV is, DepEd TV is really based on the curriculum. Like, they have to be really strict that it's based on the modules, the self-learning modules. So, even that is also a challenge because no script can be printed unless meron tayong mga self-learning modules that have been QA'd, right? So, as much as you want to be able to advance these episodes, there are a lot of things that have to take place bago yung module ay ma-release, right? But again, these are things that are being taken care of by the DepEd. They want to make sure that there are no reasons why there will be delays in the modules, right? Pero you're right, Ron. What the teachers are really doing is a skill that they can use even for the future.
Yes.
And when I say that, it's with a vision of the Department of Education one day to have a standalone educational channel that's 24/7. And when I say standalone, it's kasi ang current setup natin is we're being broadcast on, say for example, Solar or on Signal, and these are broadcast partners that DepEd has agreements with, right? And hopefully, these are long-term kinds of agreements. But the vision really of DepEd is one day to have its own, and other countries have this, a 24/7 educational channel. So these teachers that we're training right now, when the time comes, they may be the frontliners of those programs that will be developed for DepEd TV in the future. So ang daming possibilities, right? So I'm hoping and praying that happens, because then that means what we're doing right now is really for the long term. So including hopefully getting funding for the different studios all over the country, right? To set up studios in imagine if we could set up studios in each division one day, right? And that studio can serve as, well, not just for the teacher, broadcaster, and the lessons that they'll be producing, but for anything that is education related, because even if the pandemic, boils over, even when there's a vaccine, this will still be a mode of not just education and instruction. It'll still be the main mode of communication, because people realize, hindi pala natin kailangan magkita. Pwede naman tayo mag-Zoom na lang.
That's true.
Right? And if we get the job done, why do we have to see each other?
But I think where it'll also be relevant, I don't know lang if they can get access to it. Diba, how many times have we seen yung mga documentaries dito where the kids have to ride a boat and go through also the teacher has to carry the kid in the water just to educate, para makapasok lang sa school yung bata, diba? So maybe we can find ways to get these kids that kind of access. Kasi if it's just TV, I'm sure we can find a way for them to be able to watch the TV there in their areas. Kasi diba, kawawa talaga yung there's so many, feeling kasi natin those stories are so konti lang, but if you go around the Philippines, you can actually replicate that. There's people who have very hard access to get to school physically, with COVID or no COVID, diba? Hirap na hirap sila. So that could be good for them in the long run.
That's true. I mean, even teachers have a hard time getting to to school. They have to cross several rivers, and sometimes we think it's an exaggeration, but it's not. It's true. They have to go through that every single day. Some of them even risk their lives trying to cross the river, just to get to school. These are both students and teachers alike. And really, what can solve that is not so much building schools, the brick and mortar, but also looking at a longer term vision of, say, interconnectivity, of using available technology so that everyone and anyone can learn. And it's great that you have LGUs giving away tablets and laptops and all that, and equipping both teachers and students alike. But you're right, Michele. There are far-flung areas that are not reached by radio, television, definitely no internet, right? And if they just have the modules, I mean, that's fine, but you'd want to get more to them. So that's a good question. I mean, what else can be done to be able to cover that naman, right?
Yeah, kasi ang dami nilang ganyan. But my other question then, Paolo, is like with the TV setup, which is good, how do we gauge that the kids are actually learning? Or kasi syempre in school, diba, there's a test, may quiz ka kagad. But in this kind of setup, mahirap na. Same with the online, diba?
They evaluate that they actually are learning something from all the lessons that you see on TV. And also,
kasi this year, like I told my kids, like, if you get good grades, fantastic, but it's not that's not really our goal this year. It's just a whole different learning. Ang joke ko ngayon, kung maka first honor yung mga bata ngayon, it's because it's the parents. it's not the actual kid learning, no? Like for me, I want my kid, my main goal from this year is that my kid becomes more proficient in using the computer on his own, yung mga ganyan.
Right.
Hindi not necessarily na kailangan first honor, diba? But yun, it's just that with this kind of setup of the DepEd, I don't know how they will gauge that the kids are actually learning.
Well, there was a debate before, diba? There was a debate na sinasabi nila, ipapasa na lang ba lahat ng mga estudyante? Right? There was that debate going on. Just let everyone pass. And the main issue with that is that if you let everyone pass, what happens to achievers? Right? They lose the drive to be able to perform and at a high level. So what will their incentive be? If they're that kind of individual and the fear really is if we say, pasado ng lahat, what kind of culture are we creating? What kind of future are we creating? So in answer to what...
And it's also the lazy way out.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever suggested that is a lazy ass.
Hoy, Eric, hinggit ka lang kasi hindi naging option to nung panahon natin.
Hindi, pero alam mo, pinag-usapan natin ito, Mikal, kanina yung, di ba pansinin mo ngayon, lahat na lang may awards. So pag pinansin mo, pag awarding ceremonies, lahat may natatanggap at nawawala yung value of getting an award already because you feel that you don't need to do much for you to receive something.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's everybody gets some, like even sa football, guys, but we're all football players here. When we were growing up, when I was growing up as a varsity and player, I've never even heard of the plate. There's no plate division, no nothing.
Yeah.
Parang ngayon, there's a champion of the plate division, the ewan. Sa akin, di ba? Losers bracket yung tawag dati. Losers bracket.
May kapito, may pandikdik.
Di ba? Di ka pwede umuwi sa tatay mo sabi, Dad, champion kami ng losers bracket.
Dapat kakulelat ka talaga, di ba? Wala kang matanggap. Pero ngayon,
but it's just worrying now kasi it's so much pressure on kids to perform well, to do really, really well, and it's just all academic side. No, it's just that we want kids to be more well-rounded, and like what Paolo said, what they're doing is the value side of it. Pinag-usapan natin kanina before he joined. As long as the DepEd still has that section there for value, citizenship, and sana rin we teach Paolo yung mga other stuff like cooking, the basics of life.
Actually, meron yan. So. We have that. There's actually nail care. There's I'm not kidding. One of these days I would show you the curriculum for especially for junior and senior high. I might have it here somewhere. But basically what we're talking about, they're covering mga pwedeng vocational let me see if I have it here.
Because those vocational courses are very important, and a lot of the schools don't have that now.
Yes.
Like Don Bosco, I was jealous of my Don Bosco classmates because they knew how to deal with a car, yung mga sira sa auto, di ba? Ako wala akong alam. Di ba?
There was such a thing as practical arts back in high school, right? I mean, did you guys experience that? We did have practical arts before. We used to carve out stuff on a piece of wood.
What's that, Ron? Sorry, chappy.
Practical arts. Did you have that in high school?
Yeah. So look at this. This is for junior and senior high. They have oral communication, right? Then they have personality development, general math, understanding culture, okay, earth science, 21st literature, communication. I guess that's communication. Then there's pagbasa, Filipino sa piling larangan. DRRM, I guess that's learning about disasters and how to handle themselves. There's pre-calculus and physical fitness. Then there's EM Tech.
Oh wow!
These are 15 individual subjects that are in. I think this is senior high, if I'm not mistaken.
Pao, is it true that they already in high school they teach like how to run a business or something? Because I remember reading a post on Facebook, sabi, ano ba to? Why are they teaching this in high school when
they did the K-12, kasi from what I understand, no, there was a part there where for the higher senior na, you choose whether you're going to go down the science path or the business path. Because I remember in Southridge, they asked me to give a talk about business. So for those who want to parang go down the business path, and then there's another one. There's a doctor who was with me who gave his talk about science. So just to give the kid parang a day in the life. I probably was not the best example that they could have
Pinaniwala
gotten.
sa dun.
I mean, syempre, nagpatawa lang ako dun ng isang oras, no? But you know, I actually I welcome that kasi nung time natin wala pang ganyan, di ba? So at least, di ba, you get an idea of how it is a day in the life of a doctor or a businessman and what to look out for. So they can help. But, you know, really the thing is, a lot of guys and a lot of the most successful people, they don't necessarily know what they wanted to do right after high school, diba? It's a process of, you know, learning and whatnot. It's just that it's good to have these kinds of guides and options already. Na parang like I said kanina, we need to teach kids things that will actually be useful to them in life, especially for the public schools.
You know what would be useful, Mikel, Paolo, to include in the curriculum at an early age? How to work in teams. Because I think the problem right now, the individual, you know, our propensity to enrich ourselves individually, and when we get into a group setting, we don't know how to deal with other people.
May mga group project pero isa lang yung gagawa. Madami naman ganyan na.
Kaya nga eh. But do we teach that, the dynamic of a group? Like, do we have like a class that involve like how to be productive within a group setting? Because I think
supposedly, you know, parang team sports sa PE, di ba?
But Ron, normally in my classes they have group projects that they have to even now my son who's 13, after mga class nila, they have to have like a Zoom call of their group mates to discuss, you know, how they still have projects na group based, which is good. So kahit na distance learning, meron pa rin silang kailangan nila mag-collaborate. And yun nga, but you have to learn kasi may mga tao tamad, di ba? There's always be a slacker in every group, di ba?
Right.
Which used to be
may
me,
comment dito, Mikel, medyo madamdamin. Daniel Daitol. Moral ethos is important to society. Mga kabataan ngayon, lumalaking psychopath. Parang hayop na kain at sarap lang hanap. They need to be reminded that they are more than chaotic animals and carry moral responsibilities.
That's deep, Daniel. That's deep.
Solid.
But it's true. It's true. I agree to that to a certain extent. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say psychopath, but
sociopath, pwede pa.
Yeah.
May mga sociopath.
It's a different. I don't know if you guys would agree, you know, but it's a different culture. Like before, kasi like it was hard to get stuff. You know, like physical things sa atin, like from our parents. Like before, kung you needed something, parang new notebook, new shoes, new something. It was hard. Diba? Parang you had to do something to get it. You know, nowadays it's too easy. Parang like I need new shoes or may bagong labas si Nike. And the parents, siguro some parents kasi they feel bad because they didn't have this when they were younger. It was harder. Parang they feel, get it to them. But there's a moral there. You really have to work for stuff. You have to value it. Now every kid, every new shoe, meron bago, diba?
Kids of the day didn't have to go through what I had to go through before when BMX was in vogue, when BMX was a big thing for a kid, and you know, and then to end up, you know, you think about it for a whole week and you dream about it, and then the day came, you receive like a bike for women, may basket pa sa harap, diba? Parang ano yun eh. Traumatic experience.
Ron, ganito lang. I have an example to show you how spoiled and stupid I was at one point in my life. I remember when I think I was 10, 11 years old. Christmas, biglang may dumating malaking box sa ilalim ng tree and it had my name on it. It was from my parents. I called all my friends. I go, guys, G.I. Joe base yan for sure. Okay na tayo. Solid to. This is a whole G.I. Joe thing. Christmas came, I opened it. It was a TV and I was pissed. I was like, what the heck is this? None of my friends had a TV in the room or anything, but I got a TV and I remember saying, what the heck? But you know, and looking back at it, it's like, gago talaga, diba? But it's like, but now kids, kasi they get everything they ask for, they're given it most of the time. I'm guilty of this. But we, like in our house, kasi like my kids, if they even want the coins from my pocket, they have to do push-ups and all that, just so that they know that there's something that you have to do.
I think also, you look at what is really prevalent in the world, how people are ultra PC now. Right, it's always like you're walking on eggshells. You don't want to offend people, and I don't know if some parents feel that way towards their kids. Now they don't want their kids to have any feelings of resentment or whatever for them. So kung anong hiningi, binibigay. Hindi dinidisiplina, right? Because nowadays, you talk about if any parent lays a hand on a child, oh my God, it's a big issue, right? But during our time, it was like, where's that
What?
slipper?
Bro,
Where's that?
bro, when I studied in Southridge, this is up until the 90s. There was what corporal punishment, but we had to carry our tables. We had actual physical detention. Pinapaluhod kami sa marble, and we never went home and made sumbong to my mom and said, the teacher made me carry my table. Kasi if I told my mom that, she'll say, punyeta, anong ginawa mo? Ba't pinabuhat sa'yo yung table na yan?
Right. It's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault. But yun nga parang we're in a society now that is just so, the world basically, so careful parang sobra tayong ingat na may ma-hurt tayong feelings and at the same time the corollary of that is that people get offended so quickly na.
And you can't say anything nowadays.
Pa,
Yeah,
what is,
I don't care. Sa totoo
Pa, what
lang,
is your
I say
take on
whatever
that?
I want.
I mean,
Sorry,
why do you think all of a sudden society changed? I mean, the culprit that I can think of is not obviously our parents are, they have very minimum input on what's been going on culturally in the world. Kasi karamihan na that are influencing the younger generation are our generation who are the CEO.
Let me put it. I would blame it. I would blame it on many things, but one of the major factors I would say is the availability of platforms. Because a platform is now available, every possible iteration of a movement, every possible iteration of an advocacy, every possible iteration of something that can offend you and can offend others can now have an audience. And when that starts, then it all of a sudden validates some things that aren't even supposed to be validated. Kasi nung panahon natin, the reason why hindi tayo ganun ka-sensitive is because it happened. Sometimes we think it's an isolated case. Wala yan. The only time it becomes a big thing is if it appears on the news and, oh my gosh, that's very politically incorrect pala and whatever, right? Because we didn't have access to both accurate information and fake news. But now, because we have that, right? When we read something and we see some people are so adamant or so against it, or they're so passionate about something, ang inisip natin, oh, wow, so that must be a thing. And then some of us tend to be bandwagoners. We'll ride on that and say, oh my gosh, that is so anti-ganito, that is so anti-ganyan. And, so then you end up with people who are easily offended.
The other thing to say, Ron. Oh, go ahead, Pao. Go ahead, Pao.
Now, even if it's something that normally wouldn't offend you, but because you read that it offended other people, then you're like, yeah, it offends me then. Actually,
Makijam ka sa ano. But the other thing to bear in mind kasi is with this generation, I watched a comedian talk about it. Sabi niya, naawa din siya sa millennials and all that. Only because they live in a world where every single idea or feeling you have, you can put out there on social media. Whereas yung time natin, if we could write what we were thinking back in the 90s, and pucha, my God help us all. But now, parang every time there's something that comes into their mind, there's galit sila about something or pinagalitan naman, they can put it on Facebook and their friends will all like it, comment, or the negative or say bad.
It validates that feeling, di ba?
Yeah.
Now when people ride on and people yung ginagatungan, di ba?
Yes. And then the other thing is the media and everybody or big brands, they know how to play on that now. They know how to get a group of kids or these people to feel about a certain thing that they'll get enough movement to be good for them. They know how to manipulate that. Whereas before, wala yan. It was much, much harder for them to influence all of us. Diba ngayon?
Right.
Dali lang. If you want somebody to get behind a certain cause nowadays, tama si Paolo. Dali-dali lang yan gawin.
Yeah. So many websites, diba? You make a movement. Invent one, right? But also, you look at Facebook. At the end of the day, Facebook is a business. And what is their business? Obviously, they don't have much business if there's not much engagement or interaction, which is precisely why they will not flag down controversial topics. They will not flag down or remove posts that can be offensive to a large number of people. They will not.
Mm.
They'll say, "Oh, you know what? It didn't violate our community guidelines," right? Recently, there's someone who was captured on Facebook Live committing suicide, right? And you know, all Facebook said was, "You know what? It's not violating our community guidelines." So you look at all these platforms, and really, when you come up with, when you have that knowledge that really, if you want to be popular on any social media platform, Facebook, TikTok, or even YouTube, right? You just have to be controversial at the end of the day, right? Look at the ones that are really raking it in terms of, say, not just revenue, but in terms of views. They have to be controversial. And when I say controversial, I don't mean it's a topic that is taboo. No. When I say controversial, it's you post something that will elicit certain reactions from people, whether negative or positive. Kaya ang prank is sobrang popular because some people don't like the prank. Some people think it's too harsh. And then people start engaging. And before you know it, whoever created the prank is a millionaire. And you are just behind your keyboard pa rin feeding, that monster. So,
alam mo pa, tama ka, no? Kasi if you notice, some of the top some of the videos that got really, really good engagement, like in the millions sometimes, no, are the ones that are the most ridiculous or the most offensive. Like, kunyari, pag pinanood mo yung mga videos on mga pranks, sabi mo kanina, na-mention mo pranks, ang daming mga prank videos na talagang people really, they really watch those stunts that people do. Remember, there's just recently a couple of kids got,
arrested. Yeah,
because they one entered a sack of, a sack, and then they left him there in like near the garbage bin to get.
It's a prank. It's a prank.
Yeah. I mean, the things that people do for attention, it's really
for a like, for a follow.
It's alarming. Yeah, for a follow, for a like. So, what is if you think about it, this day and age, really, what is the currency, right? The currency is attention. Unfortunately, and that leads to a lot of awful things. The creative process is stifled. Because you want attention, you're so focused on what will other people think of my creation as opposed to you just creating. It becomes an adulterated work of art. Because habang ginagawa mo, ang inisip mo, ano kaya isipin ni ganyan? Did Michelangelo think while he was, sculpting, ano kaya isipin ng publiko tungkol dito sa sculpture ko?
Tama.
Obviously not. Diba? He was just creating. This is me. Screw you all. This is how I express myself. Damn it. Diba? I put it out there. But now, every time we create anything, go ahead.
I don't mean to correlate this to another medium that you might be a little bit protective of. Like sa TV kasi, for example, like the type of programming. This was an issue during the ABS-CBN ang tawag nito, hearing in Congress, that the content that the TV networks come out with are based on the idea who will watch it. I mean, we're gonna release content based on what people want, and what people want doesn't necessarily mean quality programming. So that's why we have like variety shows that showcase nonsense. That showcase what social media are espousing right now. So,
so I get what you're saying, Ron. I will be the first to say that yes, all networks are guilty of that. Because what is a network? It's a business. So if you come up with a bunch of educational programs, will those rate? If you come up with programs that are, documentaries on beautiful things, will those rate? And it's kind of sad. You have shows like, Kim Atienza's Matang Lawin. Now that's an educational program, right? Or Chris Chu's I Believe. But here's my question. Out of the slots, the time slots of a network, what percentage are geared towards content that is educational, informative, inspiring, and entertaining.
Wala,
How-
mas importante
all four.
pa yung mas importante yung probinsyano na ilang beses na hindi pa namamatay si Coco Martin.
Because like what Ron was saying, it's not but again, it's not so much what people want, but it's because of the kind of visuals that you're showing, the kinds of situations, di ba? Ano bang mga nag-rate? Pag may adultery, pag may kabit, other
Sampalan.
wife, other husband, di ba? May sampalan, tapos yung
Magkapatid pala sila.
binabanal
Tatay
sa
niya pala yung
ulo.
driver. Tatay niya pala yung driver
Right.
niya. Yung mga ganyan.
Di ba? I mean, so that's you know, because nga those things rate. Those things will bring in the money for them. Those things will bring in the advertisers. But di ba, advertisers naman cannot put their foot down and say that, you know what, you have to come up with quality content. Because what's important to advertisers is that they get the eyeballs. And the
Right.
eyeballs will come with the rating shows. So, saan ka? Diba? You're a brand. Are you gonna stick to are you gonna, be hard fast on your values and say na, hindi, that's against our brand, our brand image, yung binabadal sa ulo. Eh, yun na
Pero
may 35% rating eh.
I have a
Bobby,
question.
sorry, Miguel. Do you think there's a chance for this to actually change, given the new realities? Like because of the pandemic, diba, we've reached a tipping point here. Eh. Like for example, educational programs now will have to be on TV. Do
Sure.
you think there'll be? Will that
You know
help?
what? The numbers are showing this. And one of these days, it'll be great if we can guest Coach Laika even for a while. She has over 1 million viewers. 1 million subscribers. And she's awesome. Motivational speaker. And she has just so many great insights, so much depth to understanding what is going on. She creates educational content, right? And one of the things that she pointed out is the kids nowadays, especially during this pandemic, they are now leaning towards more educational content, which means they are searching for it online. The number of hours that they spend looking for educational content online has increased. So this is supposed to be a great boost and wake-up call at the same time for content creators, right? That this kind of content, which originally was thought to be non-sexy, non-interesting, non-rating, ito na ang hinahanap ng kabataan ngayon. So, I say this so that we don't underestimate the kids, we don't underestimate the learners. That maybe somehow, because of all of the things that have happened in the past few months, maybe a reset button has been pressed.
Right.
And we now have this opportunity to create a different kind of environment in terms of programming on television, in terms of programming on social media. And if we're able to continue riding that wave, then we may be changing the DNA of this whole social media
Generation.
Exactly. Now you're going to come up with a new generation of people who are hungry for knowledge, hungry for learning, hungry for new positive, relevant experiences. And we can slowly let go of these negative and toxic kind of content. That, might be
Actually, Pao, that's so true. Because, like, let's say, for example, yung 13-year-old son ko, this whole pandemic, all he's been doing is really watching videos on YouTube about his guitars. So he's constantly learning new songs. So he actually, he doesn't really care about the actual music video of the band kasi wala naman siyang pake dun eh. It's really he looks for the tutorials on how to perform the song, and then bam, 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 bam. And then he'll do it. And a lot of his friends are doing the same, no? So it's not really all the sexy, all that kind of stuff like what you're saying. And they're actually out there looking for things to learn. Kasi siguro kahit sila din, bored na, they want to do. Hopefully, the good news lang about YouTube, the reason I like YouTube is that there actually is so much content there that's educational. Whether it's for young or old, to fix the house or something. Ilang beses na ako, I went on YouTube to help me learn how to do the plumbing or whatnot, diba? Even
to have Well, apart from Paolo teaching me how to have better lighting, you can actually get it on YouTube too. Di ba?
Dami yan. That's why we're hoping that they did. Oh, my question to Pao kanina is, like today kasi in the news, si Manny Pacquiao came out and said, I think
Yeah.
that he's saying that they figured out that they'll take care of the 13 channels. But what does that mean? What are the costs? What's the difference between producing the actual content and the
Right.
use of those channels?
So
Yeah, Pao.
what Senator Pacquiao was referring to would be the actual carrier of the content that the DepEd will be creating. So if you're looking at different carriers, there are different modes of transmitting the television program, right? It could be via satellite, it could be via cable, it could be via terrestrial broadcast. Now, all of these things, there is a cost to broadcast. So essentially, what he's doing is he's putting gas into all of these different networks to make sure that they'll be able to broadcast. And then what the
Right.
Department of Education is doing through DepEd TV is creating the content to be put into that, to be put into the different broadcast channels para may kalat. Now, from what I understand, those channels are a lot of mga provincial-based channels, cable channels, mga satellite channels, and that's really the key. I mean, tayo kasi in Metro Manila, di ba, inisip lang natin is the major networks, right? But in the provinces, there are major cable channels there that are carriers of various networks. There are satellite services that can reach the far-flung areas, right? Again, subscription-based yan and this and that. But ang dami, magugulat kayo sa dami ng telecommunications methods that we can employ so that all of these, or utilize rather, so that all of this content can reach the learner. So, hopefully we're able to get a deeper understanding from the senator of exactly what else the support would be for. Kasi it'll be great if masuportahan ang pag-create naman ng content.
Yeah, oo nga
Kasi,
po.
di ba? Kasi ang pag-create ng content is it's the crux of the whole,
Well,
concept.
this is where we hope, like one, the private sector I think can help. There's lots of companies who I think would be willing to do some sort of sponsorship and charitable whatever donations to do it. But also, sad to say, we have so many colleagues who lost their work in ABS-CBN and are currently looking. There's so many creative minds out there that I think would be hopefully willing to help.
Miguel, those exact people are the ones who are part of these various teams now.
And those guys are awesome, and we thank you guys for the amazing work, and thank you for people like Paolo and everybody else who are working on this, because sobrang laking bagay nito, guys. Education for our kids, especially in this time now, the pandemic, and for the far-flung areas throughout the Philippines, it has to continue. And what you guys are doing is amazing, and we're very proud. And I hope lots more people can offer more support also, like the private sector and other areas. Sana talaga.
Yeah.
Eric Madraso. Eric, you have a couple of preteens, right? They're preteens, right? Your kids.
Yes.
So, what's your observation? How are they now adapting to the current, educational system that's been brought to them by the pandemic? Ano yung mga napansin mo sa kanila? What adjustments have they made so far?
Well, I think one of the struggles talaga was to get used to online classes, no? Na tuloy-tuloy laptop yung harap. And ito yung sinabi ni Mikel, may mga group projects din sila wherein after the class, they have to meet up with the group and do their projects. Thing is lang, ang dami pa ring homework. Doon sila nababag down and they're still in front of the laptop when it comes to that. No?
Yeah.
So, sometimes they natatapos sila mga alauna ng umaga. Then the next day, klase na naman, in front of the laptop na naman. So parang, I think yun yung struggles nila.
Yayaman din sa optical at saka sila CEO.
You know what's weird, which is also true for work. You would think that since everybody's at home doing work or school, that it's going to be a lot easier. it's been longer, the working hours for, like, for
Yeah.
example, in government. And then for, I guess, students, it's been
Actually,
it's a-
Ron, there are many studies actually that I've seen already, like papers recently, that a lot of companies are actually beginning to think whether or not this work from home thing is actually feasible, especially for larger groups that require collaboration.
Right.
For stuff, they've found that the productivity is actually a bit worse
Ah,
than they were expecting. It could be also because there's still an adjustment period to the whole process, but it's just the face-to-face collaboration is really different. And what Eric said is right. Actually, ang worrying din kasi dyan is when you're doing this all from home, you're working, your semblance of work-home balance, work-life balance is gone. So you get so drawn into whatever project you're doing, especially for our friends in the creative industry that have to produce, content, a lot of content, even like what Paolo was saying, that they have to produce a certain amount, like say a 16-page speech, and they have to do it quite a lot. So even if you're home, you don't want your kids to come in because hassle, diba? They're gonna distract you from your creativity, magiging stress ka pa. So there's so there's some pros and cons to it, obviously, but there's still adjustment. But I just say it's not as productive as they were hoping it would be. For certain ones, some people are finding it a breeze. But, so you get so much more done at home than you would have at work. Kasi wala kang kachismis, wala kang, di ba, lunch break na 2 oras na, alam mo mga ganon.
Yeah, I think it's also being able to define output, right? What is the expected output from an individual that will be working from home? And because this pandemic was such a, we were so blindsided by it. No one was able to prepare. So how do you prepare? Like, I remember before when we were discussing work from home, way pre-pandemic, the issue was, how do you monitor? How do you make sure that they're actually working 9 hours a day, diba?
Yeah.
And then you realize, it's not so much working 9 hours a day, but it's actually working efficiently. If you can finish the job in 2 hours, then great, diba? But how many companies actually have goals for every single day na dapat ito yung ma-accomplish mo, right? Usually it's a week-long kind of set of steps that you have to accomplish, right? So, a lot of the things that we're looking at right now is how to measure productivity, how to be able to measure output, how to be able to maximize the fact that yes, you're home. We understand, yes, there has to be work-life balance. And, to that, a lot of bosses kasi think, total work from home yan, I can reach you anytime I want. So nawala na bigla yung 9 to 5. Nandun na yung 9 to 1 or even 8 to 1, diba? Because, you're probably just at home. I really need the answer to this. Please reply ASAP. Go on Zoom. Here's the link. So nawawala rin diba? Parang the thinking... Yeah, but the thinking is like, you're practically on vacation. You're at home, diba? I mean, you don't need to dress up or whatever, go to the office. So I have to be able to access you anytime. So there have been some complaints that have reached me na may mga ibang mga employers na ganun ang nangyayari, na they're actually more exhausted, and not physically so much, but mentally and emotionally exhausted. Because this is tiring.
Wala nang weekends. Wala nang weekends. As a matter of fact, I'm beginning to question all the different aches and pains I've been experiencing physically. Like mga, I don't know, because it's activities or stress related. Like I'm like feeling. Ako kung matagal na tayo hindi nagfo-football. Yun ba yung ano yan?
EDAD lang yan. EDAD, edad, bro.
Alam mo yung nag-alternate, masakit tuhod mo bigla, pagising mo, tapos masakit yung shoulder mo. Tapos,
lack of movement yan. Sedentary masyado tayo.
But we gotta get active again. We gotta get active
we
again.
need to encourage people to go out and go going and do. But for the work, also I think kasi a lot of bosses are also under a lot of pressure. The boss himself or the owner of the business, kasi you're facing so much grief right now and so much pressure. So sometimes I know bosses who are up till late at night, and syempre the first idea that comes to them, text na nila yung empleyado nila, oy, ganyan. And expect somebody to reply. And we all have to be cognizant of the fact that these people are, it's still the same. They still have families that they have to attend to. They still need rest. Ang danger din kasi, Ron, is a lot of people are saying, just be grateful you still have a job in this pandemic, which is true. Yes, be grateful. But that doesn't mean that the employer has every right now to abuse you. And say, pasalamat ka nga, may trabaho ka, tapusin mo to by 3 in the morning. Thanks, bye. Yeah.
You know this guy, Micoy de la Fuente, Mikel?
That's my lawyer and my best guy. So what's he say? Work-life balance, 90%. Si Raulo, sinungaling yan, nagbabike lang yan. No, but it's true what he says. Like, especially kasi lawyers, especially the younger lawyers, the newer lawyers, they're sa kanila binibigay lahat ng work eh. All the hard work that is. And some of them, I remember I visited a friend in a law firm. They had sofa beds in their offices because they're expected to stay there. So and that's the hard part. Although we need to get used to having to work, but yung ang hope ko from all this work from home and all this pandemic stuff is that we actually all learn from this, that we don't have to be in the office 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, na talagang clock in, clock out. I've always believed in productivity-based work for certain jobs. Like in Auntie Anne's, we've always really been. Our management team, I don't count their leaves. I don't, check how many hours they've worked. It's really never been my style. But here, diba, we live in this country na every minute na you're late from your lunch break, there's a deduction, there's a explain this, explain that. And for me, I hope that we learn to adapt from that there's more to productivity than that.
Natawa ko sa comment ni Lawrence Chua. Mga message na ganito from your boss. Tapusin mo to 3 a.m. in the morning. Thanks, bye.
And Jericho.
Alam mo, Mikel, one of the things that we entrepreneurs should be anticipating is when things sort of go back to normal, what happens to all of the pivoting that happened along the way, all of the different new systems that you had to put in place and all that. Kasi, syempre, not all of those systems and not all of the pivots are for long term. Diba? So it's really now a matter of how flexible and agile are you as a company to be able to quickly adapt pag bumalik ang sigla ng ekonomiya, pag bumalik ang sigla ng tao sa mga mall, pag bumalik ang sigla ng tao sa mga restaurant and mga bars, and how quick are you going to be able to just make sure that you ride that wave when it happens? No.
Well, I watched this with the early days of the pandemic. I was invited to this webinar thing, and there was a chef, Michelin-starred chef, I think based in Singapore, one of these places. They asked him, what are you doing to adjust ganyan? And he said something that has resonated with me for so long. Sabi niya, we shouldn't be quick to put all our eggs in this basket of adjusting to the pandemic because we don't know how long this is going to last. Let's say we all transition to online. Let's say you put all your money and resources into online. Then the virus disappears and nobody wants to do online again. You're screwed, diba? But what you have to be is be able to be nimble and to adapt. Because these things happen. I've done many video interviews, for they've asked me, Mika, you're the COO of Auntie Anne's. What was your business plan for this? What was your contingency plan for this pandemic? I said, how could I have planned for this? If you told me that all 65 of my stores should be closed, I would say, what, nakulong ba ako or something? It's just something we couldn't have planned for. But now that this has happened, I think most of the businessmen are saying, Jesus, we have to be prepared for the absolute worst now and be able to learn to just adjust, na mabilisan. But don't put everything in that all, lahat online. Online is good. You need to be able to be present in all these other things. But that's not going to be. Do you think people will stop going out of their houses, eventually? Once the pandemic is gone, balik na naman sa mall yan and all sorts of stuff, diba? So we cannot just close everything.
Now pa lang, a couple of my friends came from Mega Mall, and they were like, man, it's scary because people are, it's pretty dense already, so.
Tagaytay this weekend was full. Tagaytay, diba? That's why they came out and said,
but now you're going to need a permit to go to Tagaytay.
Well,
right?
So they say. I hope so. But it's just that, that's why we just have to be able to adjust. Like sila Eric in their office, diba? Sila Eric, you've had to make all sorts of adjustments then, diba? With your teams.
We had a lot of adjustments. Our company was prepared for disasters like typhoon, floods, volcanic eruptions.
Right.
We were prepared and stuff, but we were not prepared for a pandemic.
Right.
Nobody knew it was coming.
But now, Eric, diba, because we know that it can happen, we now put that into our plans na, diba? Because we know that when this disappears, something else could come. Something else could,
Right? Imagine mo the future when we all go back to the office like months from now and then somebody sneezes in your office, patay. Iba na ang reaction ng mga
Yeah.
tao.
Tingin mo kagad ngeta ka.
Diba? Pag may umbatsing sa office ngayon, evacuate na yung buong building. I mean, seriously. I mean, the fear is there.
Yeah.
Definitely may trauma na yung yung experience.
Yeah.
Like they say, diba, like they said nga, diba, parang nowadays it's actually better to break wind in public than sneeze.
Yeah.
But example lang guys, like kasi I managed I was a railway station manager and I was on shift when 7/7 bombings happened, like the terrorism thing. We were preparing all the time. We did so many drills for terrorism and all sorts of stuff. And when it finally happened, I remember for days, weeks and months after that, we had so many false alarms. Na sobrang praning kami, like if somebody left a bag or something, we'd evacuate the whole place kasi parang I can see that happening going forward with this, even though we hopefully will get lower cases and things will get better. There will be still many false or scares that we will still have and we'll all panic still, hopefully. But I know, hopefully we'll be better prepared. But expect lang talaga na the DOH is not going to come out today and say, okay, no more COVID, zero, finish, we can all go back to normal. There will still be adjustments to that normal.
Pero alam mo,
There are a lot of things there are a lot of good things naman din na natutunan because of this pandemic. I mean,
Actually,
people now, they wash their hands. Diba? Dati, upo ka lang sa restaurant, diretso ka na kain eh. Pero ngayon, more often than that, you wash your hands like 100 times a day.
Yeah.
So, I think
And
good things. Also,
right.
And
maganda nga Eric, di ba? Parang if we're talking about good manners and right conduct, to actually consider washing your hands as part of good manners.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Di ba? It becomes part of our culture that when you say good manners, it's actually being considerate of other people, of this possible spread of the virus and germs and whatnot. So, and you're right, we take it for granted before, diba? Or even mask wearing. Oh.
Para hindi ka maka-infect ng other people.
Yeah, even the flu and normal sickness. We Pinoys kasi, because there's no sick pay or whatever, you tend to go to work even if you're really, really not feeling well, and you end up infecting half of the office with just a normal flu, which is still bad. So sana nga people will.
Another concern nga, Mikel, because of this pandemic is one thing, bad trait that we have that needs to be corrected, or I'm hoping because of this experience it will change, is people denying or in self-denial, or if they intentionally deny that they are sick. Ako, sakit ng Pinoy yata yan eh. Pag medyo may nararamdam sila, hindi nila papalap sa ibang tao.
Pero Ron, mas
diba?
okay. I've experienced kasi the opposite end of that when I was in England, because there kasi you get, like in my job, I had 6 months sick pay. Full yan. So, if you call your boss and said, I have a headache, they can't question it. So there were too many people that would just, they would just call in sick for the littlest thing, na a slight headache or whatever. Whereas here, I think, we're a bit more resilient. But tama lang, it's just that if you're really sick, you have to say. And also here, kasi Ron, healthcare is expensive. So a lot of them will, they have a sickness already, masakit yung ulo, may sipon. They don't want to go to the doctor. Yeah, kasi gastos yan, di ba? That's money that they could. Whereas when I was in England, it's all free. So may sick pay ka na nga na 6 months, libre pa yung doktor mo. So talagang dun, mag-imbento pa sila. And yung pinaka-trick dun sa England before is your biggest complaint is you say you have backache. Because no doctor can prove that you don't have backache. So yun, sabi sakit na likod, I can't come to work for a week. Okay, sige, bayad kita.
Pero Mikel, deeper one than what you just said, though, the reasons why people lie about their health. Just going back to what Paolo said, when you say you're sick, like yung sabi nga natin, yung main topic natin is good manners and right conduct, tama Pao? Yun yung GMRC, di ba?
Yes.
We talk about having good manners, right conduct, but I think there's not enough talk about what goes behind those lessons. Bakit ba natin kailangan sabihin na may sakit tayo? Bakit ba importante na talagang internalize ng isang tao o isang bata na pag may sakit ako, makakahawa ako, it will affect other people, including their families and the families of these people who they interact with.
But tama, but like Eric said naman, now at least mas conscious na tayo sa ganyan. So we think na grabe na, konting sipon lang, makakahawa ka na, di ba? So you really have to be more honest now and whatever. I think hopefully that's one learning from it.
Kaya tama-tama.
Sorry, I just want to wanted to share, no? I know some people kasi pre-COVID na kahit na may healthcare sila, libreng HMO or insurance, hindi nagpapa-check up. Kasi
Mm.
takot na may ma-uncover na sakit. Ano mo yun? So may mga taong ganun talaga eh. Pero ngayon, konting may nararamdaman na, magpapacheck na. So, which is, I think, another good thing. Sabi ko nga sila, ito pa, mga nagtatrabaho sa, di ba, medical insurance, libre na nga yung insurance mo, ayaw mo pang gamitin. So, I mean, that's
weird.
really something, no? And another thing yung sinabi ni Yon, bakit ayaw aminin na may sakit? Ang Pinoy kasi, nahihiya, malaki yung hiya, tapos ayaw nila makantsawan. Yun yung isa sa mga dyan eh.
Parang yung
Basta
mga yung nung bata ka, pag natatae ka, hindi mo sasabihin sa
Oo, kasi parang kakantsawan ka, patay ka.
kasi papagtawanan ka.
Ayaw tumaya sa school kasi nakakahiya.
Pero,
But yeah, like ako, pag mag-atching, allergies lang to, allergies, hindi to COVID. Allergies.
anyway, we want to spend the last few minutes, because the usual way we end the show, Pao, you remember, is about the big takeaway from the conversation. But I just wanted to say that the one thing that I'm hoping from all this, especially the education system, that in the changes in the ways that they have adapted because of the pandemic. One thing that we're hoping is that we have people who are the cognizant enough, no? May mga tao tayo na based on the experience na ano natin that we've been facing in the last few months. They're cognizant enough to think of things or ways or systems for the future. Na from this, we will be born, sa gaya na sabi mo, Pao, from this experience, bigla na lang, pag natapos na yung pandemic, biglang magkakaroon ng bagong sistema and somebody pressed the reset button talaga.
Yeah.
Na, okay, it's time for us to do things differently from here on end. And then, the skills will come out, new skills, and then people will see themselves differently, like the teachers for one, because there are new frontliners na, I'm capable of doing more pala than actually just teaching in a classroom. I can be online. I can do YouTube. I can do, Facebook as well, and not be self-conscious about it. And Paolo, let me just say, first of all, I want to thank you for doing what you're doing now. Kasi somebody like you with the experience that you have and the kumbaga, the things that we've done on TV to help these teachers, yung ating mga guro, to develop skills that only you can teach. Napaka-importante. It's a really big deal, and I think that little advocacy of yours is going to grow into something bigger in the future. We may not see it now, but I'm sure we're going to feel it 5 years, 10 years down the line, that you've done something very substantial at this time of pandemic.
But let me tell you also, Ron, na obviously this is something I cannot do alone, and I'm so blessed to be able to work with amazing people in the industry, who just one call, they did not hesitate to jump on and say, yes, we will help train the teachers. So, we have broadcast journalists from all the major networks, coming on board. We have Jessica Soho, Kim Atienza, Karen Davila, Arnold Clavio, Sandra Aguinaldo, Cara David, Jackie Manabat's there, Abner Mercado, MJ Marfori. We have Atom, Araulio as well. So, you're really talking about a once in a blue moon occasion where broadcast journalists from all the networks, right, have come together to be able to equip, empower, and just enable all of our teacher broadcasters to be able to deliver the lessons in the way that they really hope that they could. So laking bagay talaga.
Notwithstanding the political leanings of all these personalities. I mean, the band considered,
And my senior trainer and advisor is Lucy Cruz Valdez. So that's the powerhouse cast that we have. And So here, there's no politics, no nothing. It's just really for the teachers and for the students, because the video lessons are created. And this is what I tell the teachers, to put a little pressure on them. I tell them, alam mo kami sa broadcast industry, may mga ilan sa amin na we can only dream of having an audience of 1 million. Right? Maaring decades na kami dyan, pero never kami na-experience ng 1 million. Right? Pero kayo, dahil mandatory viewing ang mga lessons ninyo, immediately million yan. Snap of a finger, million yan. And it could change their lives.
Yeah.
Right? It could change their lives.
Empowering, actually.
Definitely. So let's start with Eric. Eric, what's your big takeaway from our conversation with Paolo here? Talking about, bringing back GMRC, and then also actually, hindi nga natin masyado napag-usapan yung barangay, but I just wanted to add a little bit, Eric, before you start talking about the big takeaway, that the reason why that the barangay is essential it's going to play a major role in this transition, especially with the children, is because the barangays are the ones closely engaged with our communities. And if we don't help improve the barangays and the officials who run the barangays, our dreams of making sure our children, no matter what stature in life they are in, and then them acquiring these skills, or even just the culture of discipline, that's in that they need to be able to excel and then rise above their stature, their status in life. We need them. We need to really engage the barangays, and we need to come up with solutions to improve the services of these officials. So, Eric, go ahead. What's your big takeaway from our conversation tonight?
First of all, Pao, thanks for showing up, and really appreciate that. I know you're busy, and thank you very much.
Namiss ko kayo.
Oo nga, nakakamiss ka.
Mas
again, thank you.
Sana pa kung may bola ngayon, no? Tapos, di ba, may sipa-sipa konti. Yun yung talaga Talagang na-miss natin ang part.
You know what I do with my sister just to try to stay active is, di ba, sa harap ng resto ko, there's a big park, di ba?
Yeah.
So, I can't kick a ball there, but I can play volleyball. So trying to learn a new sport. Gotta stay active.
Nice.
Right.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah. So thanks, Pao. Keep up the good work. We support you. Let us know how we can help as well. Ito sa good manners and right conduct. I mean, even more than the schools, more than the barangays, I think it has to involve everyone. As I've mentioned, it has to be some sort of a culture shift for us, especially here in the Philippines and maybe even the rest of the world. There are a lot of people na parang wala nang filter, kahit ano na lang na, kahit sabi nga ni Pao, di ba? Kahit ano lang naiisip nila basta controversial, lalabas ko na lang dyan. Parang wala nang filter yung mga tao. And people need to understand that yung emotions ng mga tao, it's also important as well. Their mental health issues are totally real.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know, yung sa mga controversial na mga pinagagawa mo dyan, mga content mo or pinopost mo, it might affect people that may lead to their demise or something, They might hurt themselves and get worse. We just need to be more sensitive in what we say, I guess. But sana this pandemic hopefully teaches us more values than just washing hands. Alam mo yun? It's a wake-up call for everyone, and hopefully we wake up on the right side of the bed. Yun na naman. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Sorry, Eric, medyo medyo weird yung mo, bro. Yung microphone.
No way.
Medyo
weird.
yung sound ng mic ni Eric, parang parang ka nasa loob ng isang drum or something. I don't know.
Ganyan talaga yung boses ni Eric. Malalim.
Malalim.
Parang si DJ Ron Valentine.
He was just being emotional. He was being emotional kaya medyo modulated naman ang boses. Sabi mo naman judge yung kanyang pagiging Walang ganyan na pare. Walang basta ganun.
Alam mo naman dito pa sa Istorya futbolero, pa rin kasama yung asaran sa sa usapan.
Eric, ang yabang lang ni Ron kasi medyo stable na yung internet niya ngayon.
Ganun talaga yun. Uy, nawala.
We can't hear you now, tuloy. Nagdrama tuloy yung mic ni Eric.
Wala.
Baka hindi yung mic mo yung gumagana. Eric, baka yung ginagamit mo ito, yung sa earphone mo.
Sa earphone mo yung gumagana, Rick, ha? Baka hindi yung mic. Hindi nga, Rick. Hindi mic mo yung...
It's not your mic.
Yeah, hindi ba?
So, punta ka sa... Bago tayo matapos, punta ka sa cam, mic, settings, tapos pindutin mo yung...
This is the kind of stuff Paolo teaches those teachers.
Yeah.
We've gotten an insight. Eric was just leading up to this so that we can get a demo.
Tama.
Working.
Hindi siya nakasaksak.
Yeah, sure.
Hindi siya nakasaksak.
Well, nakasaksak ko sa laptop ko, but...
Ayun parang umiba, Rick, ha? May parang umibang tunog nung may ginalaw ka. Baka yung connection ng mic mo ang problema. Wala nga ako narinig na thump
Walang thump.
Nawala ka na tuloy. Feeling ko ginagago na tayo ni Eric.
Nagiya ka, Eric.
This could go on all night.
Uy, dali mo ron, 11 na.
Ikaw na, Miguel. Sige, ikaw na muna. Tapos na rin si Eric yung salita.
Okay. Firstly, thank you to everybody who joined us, our usual fans like Lawrence and everybody from all over the world. We really appreciate it. Sana may natutunan kayo. Thank you to Paolo and to all the amazing guys working on what you're working on there, the DepEd. I'd like to say that the DepEd gets so much bad news, bad press dun sa news. Si Secretary Briones and all these other people, everybody's having to adjust to this.
She's the best.
Diba? It's just that everybody's having to adjust and everybody expects na yung results ganyan kagad na bukas kailangan ready na tayo for online learning as if, diba? Even the private institutions are having a hard time adjusting and they have all the resources. So let's be more patient. And I'd like to encourage all my fellow parents to just bear with all the hassles of online learning for now. It's an adjustment for all of us. Be patient with the teachers. Be patient with your children. Don't have too many expectations. Especially dun din sa mga GMRC side is, let's not just focus on the subject itself. Just remember that schooling is a collaboration, yung parents and the school. So we have to all work together to instill good values dun sa mga bata. Lead by example, teach them how to be good Filipinos. Sana we can teach all our kids to speak Filipino, Tagalog, or whatever local dialects or things you have there. Hindi na mawala yan, hindi lahat tayo English spokening lang para makapagtrabaho sa BPO. I think that's very important. It's part of our nationalism and part of being a Filipino. If ang logic ko palagi, ang argument ko, if somebody that looks like this can speak fluent Tagalog, dapat yung mga anak nyo pwede din. Ha? So yun lang. Thank you to everybody. Please continue to be safe out there. It's still not 100% better out there. Ang dami pa rin cases and deaths. So please continue to be safe and wag tayo maging pasaway. Yun lang. Thank you guys. And thanks again, Pao and everybody.
You're welcome. Eric, you got to work? Not yet?
Eric, wala na.
Miguel,
try to unplug the cord.
Oo nga.
Yan. I heard you now, Eric.
Sige
But
nga.
it's not from the mic eh. Thump the mic.
It's not from the mic eh.
Oo nga
it's from
I'll fix it later.
Tama. Rick, ano ba yan, Rick? Para tayong amateur kay Paolo nito.
Hindi, nagpapaturo nga tayo eh. Nagpapaturo tayo para ready tayo.
Pero Mikel, merong opposite side of that argument na sinasabi mo na matutong magtagalog pa or magpilipino para na I'm sure your point of view is valid for some or people who like to speak English all the time, but meron naman yung the opposite side of that argument, yung mga tao na konting English lang nosebleed kagad ang sinasabi.
Hindi, but like I said, we need to know and understand both. Be proficient in both. Like we're not asking you to be experts in, but at least be able to convert. We grew up na pwede tayo mag-English, pwede tayo mag-Tagalog or Bisaya or whatever it is. Kaya yan eh. But also, don't look down on fellow Filipinos kung hindi sila magaling mag-English.
Yes.
Ang hirap sa atin.
Agree ako dyan. Because
Diba,
that's not the basis of intelligence.
Exactly.
That is not the basis of intelligence.
Diba, ilang beses na sinabi yan, Paul, na the Japanese people laugh at their Japanese person because he doesn't speak English well. No. It's just this Philippines magkama ng one word. There's
Oo nga eh.
It shouldn't be that way.
Tsaka Mikel, ano nga dito nga nakakatawa yung inconsistency ng mga yung ganyang klaseng Pilipino. Pag narinig naman nila ang French, medyo baluktot ang English tapos pero French accent. Wow, ganda naman
sila.
Diba? Masyadong impressed naman sila sa ganun kahit na hindi naman ganun kagalingan mag-English yung French na person na yun. Anyway, Pao, thank you so much for joining us, Pao. You have any few messages for our viewers? I mean, you're like a rare, a rare fish to drop in the pond.
So again, it's 300 teacher broadcasters. We're looking at about 1,000 volunteers all over the country. I will guest more often when I get this off the ground, October 5. But yeah, continue supporting Istoryang futBOLERO. The conversations here are, not just katuwaan. May lalim, may substance, may relevance. And it's rare that you can actually find a program like this where, it's very cerebral, but at the same time, it also tugs at the heart, every now and then. So, for all of you guys who are sending comments and asking questions, thank you. And again, Mikel, Eric, Ron, I missed you guys. I miss you guys more on the field, though. So we gotta play again soon. And really just continue praying. Let's continue praying that this thing will boil over one day. Let's have faith that that's going to happen. But until that happens, let's not develop any caution, exhaustion. Let's continue being careful. Let's continue being wary that it's out there. Let's continue being safe and protected each and every day. And at the end of the day, let's just continue being kind. Let's just continue being kind.
Amen to that, Pao.
Super.
By the way, Paolo is one of the ambassadors or champions of the Bida ang May Disiplina campaign, the DILG and the DOH. I just wanted to tell everybody that we are very lucky to have Paolo as one of the advocates or the
anytime
for that.
Anytime.
He's devoted so much time talaga of his free time during the pandemic. Even if he needs to be with his restaurant and all his businesses, he's decided to do things pro bono for the DILG. So I can't thank you enough, man.
You're welcome. Awesome. You're welcome, brother.
You're awesome, bro. I'd like to thank also Lawrence, Vincent, Ronan, all the guys who joined our conversation tonight. You guys have been great. Even the funny ones who've sent messages to us. Erickson, si Mikoy, Daniel, Junjun, Jerome.
Ron, wala yung mga troll mo tonight. Walang Facebook user anonymous.
Kasi na-throttle sila ng Facebook eh.
Hindi tayo nakapagbayad sa mga trolls natin. Tayo
And guys, finally, don't forget the Bida ang May Disiplina message from the DOH and the DILG. Bida means bawal ang walang mask, sanitize ang kamay, distansya ng 1 metro at alamin ang totoong impormasyon. Bawal ang fake news, di ba, Pao?
That's right. And I'm excited to see. Am I going to see you on Wednesday? Are you going to be there?
Yes, definitely, man.
Awesome.
Looking forward to that.
Don't forget your mask.
Yes. Pati face shield meron din.
Face shield.
We will be
Dapat.
Kasi this Wednesday, guys, for your information, watch out for the streaming. We will definitely have a Facebook Live for that. And coverage from the media. We will have the unveiling of our ambassadors, which include Paolo Bejones for Bida ang May Disiplina. All right, so part of that will be James Deakin, sila Alden Richards will be there. We have sila Regine Tolentino, who will be part of this campaign, si Jiggy Manikad, And si Mayor Isko Moreno will be part of that as well. So Wednesday, we're going to be at the PNP Auditorium, although we are not inviting people to come because may distancing.
It sounded like you're
Di mo
inviting them.
sinabi kung saan. Dapat di mo sinabi.
Hindi lang, sinasabi ko lang manood sa streaming, hindi dapat pumunta sila doon.
Okay. It sounded like you were inviting them to come over.
Yeah.
So magkakaroon kami ng MOA signing with the KBP and the Ads Standards Council and Karans, who provided us with the billboard. So it's going to be, this campaign will be a whole nation campaign, which will include the private sector. So we're inviting everybody to be part of it. Bida ang may disiplina. So good night, everyone. Have a good one. Thank you, Paolo, Eric,
Anytime.
Mika. This is Ron Poblete for Istoryang futBOLERO. Good night.
Bye.